For more videos like this, please like, subscribe, and press the bell icon. He thought it was going to be a normal morning. The sun was just coming up. Birds were making soft sounds. The air was calm and quiet. This land was always peaceful. That was the reason he bought it many years ago. No noise. No drama. Just open space and freedom. But that morning, something felt wrong. He heard a loud sound. Boom! Clank! Beep! Beep! He slowly opened his eyes. At first, he thought it was a bad dream. But the sound did not stop. It was getting louder every second. He stood up, walked to the window, and looked outside. What he saw made his heart stop. There were trucks on his land. Big yellow machines. Workers wearing helmets. Wood, cement, and steel everywhere. And in the middle of his property, a structure was already going up. Someone was building a house. On his land. Without asking him. Without telling him. Without permission. For a few seconds, he could not move. He just stared. His mind was empty. He felt cold, even though the weather was warm. This is not real, he whispered to himself. But it was real. Very real. He quickly got dressed and walked outside. The noise was everywhere now. Hammers hitting wood. Machines digging the ground. Dust flying in the air. This land was empty yesterday. Now it looked like a construction site. He walked straight to the workers. "Hey," he shouted. "Stop! What are you doing here?" The workers looked at him, confused. One man stepped forward. He looked tired, like he had been working since early morning. "We are building a house," the man said simply. "I can see that," he replied, trying to stay calm. "But this is my property." The worker frowned. "Sir, we were told this land belongs to the HOA." Hearing that word made his stomach drop. HOA. Homeowners Association. And more importantly, HOA Karen. She was the head of the HOA. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her. She loved control. She loved rules. And she hated people who did not obey her. And she hated him the most. He bought this land before the HOA even existed. He never joined them. He never followed their rules. That alone made him her enemy. But this? This was too far. "No," he said firmly. "This land is not HOA property. I have the papers." The worker shrugged. "Sir, we just follow orders. HOA approved everything." "Approved? Approved to build a house on someone else's land?" His hands started shaking, but he controlled himself. He knew shouting would not help. "Who told you to come here?" he asked. "The HOA office," the worker replied. "Signed documents and everything." That was the moment he knew. This was not a mistake. This was planned. He stepped back and looked again at the land. His land. The place where he planned to build a small home one day. Maybe retire there. Maybe give it to his kids. Now strangers were taking it from him. Piece by piece. He took out his phone and started recording. He recorded the machines. The workers. The half-built walls. The damage already done to the ground. He needed proof. Because something told him this fight was just beginning. As he recorded, his mind went back to the past. To all the small problems with HOA Karen. The letters she sent him. The fines she tried to give him. The meetings where she talked down to him. She always said the same thing. "You should follow HOA rules like everyone else." And he always replied calmly. "I am not part of HOA. This land is mine." She never liked that answer. Now he understood. She was trying to punish him. He walked back to the workers. "Stop the work right now," he said. The worker shook his head. We can't. If we stop, we lose our job. That made him angry. Not at the workers. At the person behind this. HOA Karen. He knew exactly where to go. The HOA office was only 10 minutes away. Before leaving, he looked one last time at the land. The walls were getting higher. Time was running out. When he reached the HOA office, he walked in calmly. He did not shout. He did not insult anyone. He just wanted answers. And he knew exactly who would be sitting inside. HOA Karen. Sitting in her chair. Smiling. Acting like she owned the world. And maybe, she thought she owned his land too. He took a deep breath. Because the next conversation would change everything. And what started as a quiet morning was about to turn into the biggest fight of his life. He did not rush into the HOA office. He walked in slowly. His face was calm, but inside his chest, his heart was beating fast. Every step felt heavy. He knew this was not going to be a normal talk. The office was quiet. Too quiet. White walls. A few chairs. A big desk in the middle. And behind the desk, she was sitting there. HOA Karen. Perfect hair. Sharp eyes. Fake smile. As soon as she saw him, her smile grew wider. Like she was waiting for him. Well, she said slowly. I was wondering when you would show up. He stood in front of her desk. He did not sit down. I need an explanation, he said in a clear voice. Why is a house being built on my property? She leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms. Your property? She laughed. That land is part of the community plan. That is a lie, he replied. I bought that land years ago. I have legal papers. She waved her hand like she did not care. Old papers mean nothing, she said. The HOA controls this area now. That was the moment he understood something important. She was not confused. She was not mistaken. She was confident. Too confident. I never joined the HOA, he said. You have no power over my land. Her smile disappeared. You think you're special? She asked coldly. Everyone follows HOA rules. I don't have to, he replied. The law is clear. She leaned forward. The law is slow, she said quietly. And HOA is fast. That sentence sent a chill down his spine. He placed his documents on her desk. These papers prove ownership, he said. Stop the construction now. She did not even look at them. Instead, she pressed a button on her phone. 2 security guards entered the room. You are disturbing HOA business, she said. You need to leave. He stared at her in shock. You're building illegally, he said. And you're kicking me out? She smiled again. This is private property, she said. Not yours. The guard stepped closer. He picked up his papers and walked out. But he did not feel defeated. He felt angry. Outside the office, he stopped and took a deep breath. This was worse than he imagined. This was power abuse. He drove back to his land. The construction had moved even faster. More workers. More materials. The walls were now standing tall. The shape of a house was clear. It felt like someone was erasing his future right in front of his eyes. He pulled out his phone and called his lawyer. I need help, he said. Right now. The lawyer listened carefully. This is serious, the lawyer said. But don't worry. Do not touch anything yet. That advice saved him later. He followed it. For the next few days, he watched. Every morning, the house grew bigger. Every evening, he felt smaller. Neighbors walked by but said nothing. Some avoided eye contact. Some whispered. Everyone knew something was wrong. But no one wanted to fight HOA Karen. She had power. She controlled fines, parking, rules, complaints. People were scared. One evening, he noticed a sign placed near the construction. HOA Community Housing Project. That sign made his blood boil. Community housing? On stolen land? That night, he could not sleep. He kept thinking. Why was she doing this? Then it hit him. Revenge. Months ago, she tried to fine him for unapproved fencing. He refused. He won that argument. She never forgot it. This house was her way of teaching him a lesson. The next morning, he received a letter. Not in the mail. Placed directly on his door. It said, "Any attempt to stop HOA construction will result in fines and legal action." Signed by HOA Karen. He smiled for the first time in days. Because now, everything was clear. She was threatening him. And threats leave trails. He took photos of the letter. Saved emails. Recorded conversations. He was building his own case. Not with bricks. But with proof. Meanwhile, the house on his land was almost complete. Windows were installed. The roof was going up. HOA Karen even visited the site one day. She stood there proudly, hands on her hips, smiling at the house. She saw him watching from a distance. She waved. Like she already won. But she was wrong. Very wrong. Because she forgot one thing. The land was legally his. And the law does not care about HOA power. It only cares about facts. And soon, those facts were going to destroy everything she built. The first warning did not come with anger. It came with patience. He believed that people would listen once the law spoke. He was wrong. Early that morning, his lawyer sent an official notice to the HOA. It was clear. Simple. Direct. The letter said the construction was illegal and must stop immediately. The letter included proof. Maps. Property lines. Ownership papers. Everything. By afternoon, the letter reached the HOA office. And by evening, it was ignored. Not answered. Not respected. Not even read. Instead, something worse happened. The next day, when he returned to his land, the construction was louder than ever. More machines. More workers. More speed. It was like the HOA was racing against time. Trying to finish the house before anyone could stop them. He stood there silently. Watching. Learning. A neighbor walked up to him quietly. "I heard you sent a lawyer letter," the neighbor whispered. He nodded. The neighbor looked nervous. HOA Karen was very angry. That did not surprise him. What surprised him was what happened next. At noon, HOA Karen herself arrived at the site. This time, she did not smile. She walked straight toward him. "You think legal letters scare me?" she said loudly, so everyone could hear. He stayed calm. "The law will decide," he replied. She laughed. "By the time the law moves," she said, "this house will be finished." That was a threat. Clear and open. She turned to the workers. "Do not stop for anyone," she ordered. "If someone interferes, call the police." He recorded everything. Every word. Every order. This was no longer just theft. This was intentional damage. Later that day, his lawyer called again. "They are playing a dangerous game," the lawyer said. "Keep recording. Do not touch anything." So he waited. Days passed. The walls were painted. The doors were installed. The house looked beautiful from outside. And that made the pain worse. Because it was built on stolen land. One evening, he received another letter. This time, it was not polite. It said he was being fined for interfering with HOA business. The fine amount was huge. And the deadline was short. He laughed quietly. They were fining the owner of the land for standing on his own property. That night, he made a decision. If HOA Karen wanted war, she would get one. But he would fight smart. Not loud. Not emotional. Smart. The next morning, he visited the city office. He requested official land surveys. He requested zoning records. He requested historical maps. Every document possible. The clerk looked confused. "Why do you need all this?" she asked. He replied simply, "Someone is trying to steal my land." The documents confirm everything. The land was his. Always was. Always would be. Meanwhile, HOA Karen became more aggressive. She sent emails. She sent notices. She sent threats. Each one was stronger than the last. But each one helped him more. Because threats become evidence. One afternoon, police cars arrived at his land. HOA Karen stood behind them, confident. "This man is disturbing construction," she said. The police officer asked him for documents. He handed them over calmly. The officer read carefully. Then he looked at the construction site. Then he looked at HOA Karen. "This land belongs to him," the officer said. HOA Karen's face changed. "But HOA approval," she tried to speak. "HOA approval does not override private ownership," the officer replied. The police left without stopping the construction. Why? Because it was now a civil case. A court matter. And HOA Karen knew it. That night, she made her biggest mistake. She sent him an email. In that email, she wrote, "This project will continue whether you like it or not." That one sentence sealed her fate. His lawyer smiled when he read it. "This," the lawyer said, "is gold." Days later, the house was complete. Lights on. Windows shining. A full house, built illegally. HOA Karen thought she won. But he was waiting. Because the more they built, the more they would lose. And very soon, everything they built would come down. The day did not start with anger. It started with silence. He woke up before sunrise. No alarm. No noise. Just a calm feeling inside his chest. He already knew what had to be done. Outside, the sky was gray. The air felt heavy. Like the world was holding its breath. He looked toward his land. The house was there. Complete. Standing proudly on ground that did not belong to it. Lights off. No people inside. Just a silent mistake waiting to be corrected. He drank his coffee slowly. Not rushing. Not shaking. Today was not about emotions. It was about law. He picked up a folder. Inside were documents. Property papers. Court-approved notices. Survey maps. Every proof he needed. He placed the folder under his arm and walked outside. A black truck was already waiting. Behind it, 2 more vehicles. Professional demolition workers. Licensed. Insured. Legal. He walked to them and spoke calmly. "Before we begin," he said, "everything must be by the book." The team leader nodded. "We checked everything. This is your property." That was all he needed to hear. They drove onto the land together. The sun was rising now. And so was the tension. The first neighbor arrived. Then another. People stopped. Whispered. Pointed. No one knew what was about to happen. He stood in front of the house and looked at it one last time. It looked strong. Expensive. Perfect. But perfect things built on lies do not last. He raised his hand. Wait, he said. He took out his phone and started recording. Then he made one call. The HOA office. HOA Karen answered. Her voice was sharp. What do you want now? I am giving you one final chance, he said. Remove the house from my land. Right now. She laughed. You don't have the courage, she said. Go ahead. Try something. He ended the call. That was it. He turned to the demolition crew. Begin, he said. The machine moved forward. Metal arm raised. The first hit landed on the wall. Crack. The sound echoed across the land. Neighbors gasped. The second hit broke a window. Glass shattered. Dust filled the air. And then, chaos. HOA Karen arrived within minutes. Her car stopped hard. She jumped out, screaming. Stop! You can't do this. She ran toward the workers. He stepped in front of her. This is my property, he said calmly. You were warned. You'll pay for this, she yelled. Already paid, he replied. With your mistakes. She called the police. She called her lawyer. She called anyone who would listen. But the machine did not stop. Walls fell. Roof cracked. The house that took weeks to build was falling apart in minutes. Police cars arrived. Sirens loud. Officers rushed in. What's going on here? One officer asked. HOA Karen pointed at him. He is destroying HOA property. He handed the officer the folder. The officer opened it. Read. Flipped pages. Checked maps. The officer nodded slowly. This structure is built on private land, he said. He has the right. HOA Karen's face turned pale. You can't be serious, she whispered. I am, the officer replied. The demolition continued. Piece by piece. HOA Karen watched helplessly. Her power meant nothing here. Because power without law is weak. By noon, the house was gone. Nothing left but broken wood and dust. The land was open again. Free again. HOA Karen stood frozen. Her perfect plan, destroyed. But this was not the end. This was only the beginning. Because what she lost in buildings, she was about to lose in court. And the cost would be far higher. The house was gone. But the problem was not. Dust still floated in the air when the police cars slowly drove away. Neighbors returned to their homes, whispering, shocked by what they had seen. HOA Karen did not leave. She stood there, staring at the empty land. Her hands were shaking. Her plan had failed. And now, she was angry. Very angry. This is not over, she said through clenched teeth. He did not reply. He already knew she was right. This fight was going to move to a new place. The courtroom. That same evening, his lawyer called. HOA has filed a lawsuit, the lawyer said calmly. They are accusing you of destruction of community property. He expected that. What do we do? He asked. We do exactly what we've been doing, the lawyer replied. We tell the truth. 2 days later, the court papers arrived. The HOA wanted millions. They claimed emotional damage, community loss, and illegal action. The words sounded big. Scary. But the facts were simple. The land was his. The house was not. The first court day arrived. The courtroom was cold and quiet. He sat beside his lawyer. Across the room sat HOA Karen. She wore a confident smile. Like she was sure she would win. The judge entered. Everyone stood. The case began. HOA Karen's lawyer spoke first. They showed photos of the destroyed house. They talked about community dreams. They used emotional words. They tried to paint him as a villain. He listened silently. Then it was his turn. His lawyer stood up. He placed maps on the screen. Clear maps. Property lines. Survey records. Ownership history going back many years. The courtroom became silent. This land, the lawyer said, has always belonged to my client. HOA Karen shifted in her seat. Her smile faded. The judge leaned forward. HOA Karen was asked to explain. She spoke quickly. She talked about HOA plans, community needs, future projects. The judge asked one simple question. Did you have written permission from the landowner? She paused. No, she admitted quietly. That pause changed everything. The judge frowned. The next hearing focused on evidence. Emails were shown. Threats. Warnings ignored. The recorded phone call. The email that said, "This project will continue whether you like it or not." The judge read it twice. HOA Karen avoided eye contact. Police officers were called as witnesses. They confirmed the land ownership. They confirmed no crime was committed during demolition. Everything pointed one way. The HOA was wrong. But the biggest moment came when the city official testified. The construction permits, he said, were filed with false land information. That was serious. Very serious. The courtroom gasped. The judge called for a break. When the session resumed, the mood had changed. HOA Karen looked nervous now. No confidence. No smile. The judge spoke clearly. This case is not about destruction, the judge said. It is about illegal construction. HOA Karen's lawyer tried to argue. But the judge stopped him. HOA authority does not override private ownership, the judge said firmly. The HOA lawsuit was dismissed. Just like that? But the story did not end there. The judge looked at him. Would you like to file a counterclaim? The judge asked. He nodded. Yes. The room went quiet again. Because now, HOA Karen was the one in danger. The next court date was set. This time, he was not defending. He was attacking. And the law was on his side. The courtroom was silent. So silent that every breath felt loud. He sat straight in his chair, hands folded, eyes forward. He did not look at HOA Karen. Not because he was scared, but because this moment was bigger than her. This was about truth. The judge entered the room. Everyone stood. HOA Karen looked tense. Her confident face from the past was gone. Her hands kept moving. Her lawyer whispered something, but she barely listened. The judge opened the file. This court has reviewed all evidence, the judge said slowly. Every word felt heavy. The judge spoke about the land records first. Clear ownership. No confusion. No shared property. No HOA rights. Then the judge talked about the construction. Illegal permits. False information. Ignored warnings. Recorded threats. Each sentence hit like a hammer. HOA Karen lowered her head. The judge paused. That pause felt like forever. HOA leadership abused its authority, the judge continued. People in the courtroom exchanged looks. This was serious. Then the judge turned to him. You acted within the law, the judge said. You warned them. You documented everything. You protected your property. HOA Karen's lawyer stood up. Your Honor, he said, this was a misunderstanding. The judge raised a hand. No, the judge said firmly. This was not a misunderstanding. The room went quiet again. The judge explained the damage. Not just to land, but to trust. To law. To community. This HOA caused financial loss, emotional stress, and property damage, the judge said. HOA Karen's face turned pale. Then came the words no one expected. The court awards compensation. A few people gasped. HOA Karen grabbed the edge of the table. For illegal construction, abuse of power, and willful misconduct, the judge continued. He felt his heartbeat rise. The judge looked down at the papers one last time. The total compensation awarded is $1.2 million. The words echoed in the room. HOA Karen froze. Her lawyer dropped his pen. Neighbors sitting in the back whispered loudly. He did not react right away. No smile. No fist in the air. Just a deep breath. Because the fight was finally over. The judge added one final statement. The HOA leadership is ordered to step down, effective immediately. That was the final blow. HOA Karen looked up in shock. This court recommends further investigation into HOA practices, the judge said. The gavel hit the desk. Case closed. HOA Karen stood slowly. No words. No anger. Just defeat. She walked out of the courtroom without looking back. Outside, reporters waited. Questions were shouted. How do you feel? Someone asked him. He answered simply. Relieved. That was the truth. Later that day, he returned to his land. The empty space looked different now. Not damaged. Not sad. Free. Free from lies. Free from control. Free from fear. The sun was setting. Golden light touched the ground. This land had been through a battle. But it survived. Just like him. And tomorrow, a new chapter would begin. The money came later. But peace came first. The morning after the verdict, he woke up without stress for the first time in months. No phone calls. No letters. No threats. Just silence. Good silence. He made coffee and walked outside. The land looked open and calm again. No walls. No machines. No noise. Just land. His land. The $1.2 million settlement was processed through the court. Part of it went to legal fees. Part of it went to clean the land properly. The rest stayed with him. But the money was not the best part. The best part was what happened to the HOA. HOA Karen was officially removed from her position. Her authority was gone. The HOA board was forced to change leadership. New rules were written. New limits were set. For the first time, the HOA had oversight. Neighbors who were once silent now spoke freely. Some came to his door. One by one. I'm sorry, they said. We were scared. He understood. Fear makes people quiet. But courage makes history. The city launched an investigation into HOA practices. Fines were issued. Records were reviewed. Several old complaints suddenly made sense. HOA Karen's name became a warning. Not a title. Not a position. A lesson. Weeks later, he stood on his land with a surveyor and an architect. Not to build fast, but to build right. This time, no one rushed him. No one controlled him. He planned a simple house. Nothing big. Nothing flashy. Just a home. A place built on honesty. On ownership. On freedom. News about the case spread online. People shared similar stories. HOA abuse. Power misuse. Illegal control. His case gave others courage. Some filed complaints. Some fought back. Some finally won. One evening, he received a letter. Not from the HOA. From a neighbor. It said, Because you stood up, we are no longer afraid. He read it twice. Then smiled. That was worth more than money. As months passed, life returned to normal. Quiet mornings. Peaceful nights. No drama. No fear. Sometimes he would walk the land and remember everything. The shock. The anger. The fight. The court. The victory. And he learned something important. Bullies do not stop because they are powerful. They stop when someone refuses to bend. HOA Karen tried to take land that was not hers. She tried to show control. She tried to win by force. But the law does not respect ego. It respects truth. And truth won. On the day construction of his real home began, he stood back and watched. This time, everything was legal. Permits approved. Names correct. Ownership clear. No HOA approval needed. Just freedom. He took a deep breath. And for the first time since this nightmare started, he felt proud. Not because he destroyed a house, but because he protected what was his. Because he stood alone when others stayed silent. Because he proved one simple thing. No one is above the law. Not even HOA Karen.